We'll start out with something simple and easy and kind of common, that is tipping in a page. To start out, you need to gather your materials. You'll need a mending stick, like this thing here, some Norbond adhesive, or some other off-brand of some liquid plastic adhesive. Also, you'll need wax paper, a book press, and some rubber bands. You could also use a covered brick instead of a book press. With the wax paper, you want to tear off two pieces about 3 inches wide, and you'll fold that in half. Mine that I have here isn't, that even of a tear, but that won't matter too much. Alright, well, let's get started, huh? First, you need to make sure that the part you are putting back into the book is straight, smooth, and even. You can use a scissor to cut it if it isn't, or better yet, you could even use a paper cutter. Alright, so we're going to take our mending stick and we're going to dip it into the top of the glue bottle. You don't need a lot of glue for this repair. Then you take the page and you kind of roll the stick along the edge. You see that I kind of twirl the stick in between my fingers. You don't need too much, and you should be able to see those small little beads of glue on the edge there. Be careful not to get this stuff on your clothes because it doesn't come out. If you catch it early enough, you might be able to save your favorite sweatshirt, but you really got to be careful when you're using this stuff. Pull up your sleeves. Alright, so we're going to grab the book, and if it's in the middle of the book, we're going to want to put it into like a V shape like that. Otherwise, since this one's at the beginning, we can just lay it down flat. We won't need to do that. So I just kind of match up the top and the bottom, and my page is going to be a little more narrow, but that's alright. So what I want to do then is take those two pieces of wax paper and put one in the front and one behind it as well. We'll close that up and we'll put some rubber bands around it. The first rubber band that I put on is to really close to the spine, just to add that initial pressure, and then I'll add on 2 more just for backup in case one of them should snap. Then I throw it into the book press. This kind of book press has 3 pieces of wood on it. The top one, as you can see, has a metal piece with threads in it that will tighten as I drop down the press. There is another sheet of wood between the top and bottom pieces that I have at the top of the book to make sure that when you tighten it, and in case you over tighten it, you don't put a dent into the hardcover. Alright, next up, tipping in a signature. Well, what is a signature? These are signatures, my friend. It's usually about 16 pages. It's from a big flat sheet. So when you open your book and this baby falls out, this is what you're going to do. Let's go over those materials again, huh? You're going to need a mending stick, some Norbond glue, 2 pieces of wax paper folded, some rubber bands. Let me get those. Okay, some rubber bands. And again, I'm going to use the book press. So just like we did with the single page, I use a mending stick to roll on the glue. You're going to need a decent amount of glue on this one since the signature is much larger and heavier than a single page. Again, I just kind of twirl it in between my fingers and just kind of apply it on there. You'll apply this glue rather liberally. You can see the threads there that were part of the binding before that sewed it together. So this was a pretty clean break here. Yeah, you just want to get all of those little cracks and crevices and just make sure that you're just putting some glue on there pretty thick. Okay. Alright. So then I'm going to pull back the cover of my book so I can really get it in there. Oh, you can see where I keep my mending stick when I need my hands. Uh, I'll throw a piece of wax paper in there. Oh, this is kind of a tricky part here. All right, here we go. So I'm going to put a piece of wax paper at the beginning of the signature and at the end of the signature as well. And then I need to put this in place a little better. So what I do then is I just kind of look at it and I start pressing it in from the bottom and making sure that I'm getting it right where I want it to be. And I work my way kind of inch by inch from the bottom up over the sides and then over back to the top again. Um, Again, we're going to use the rubber bands and we're going to put this in the book press again. I'll use 3 rubber bands on this one and I'll just keep going. Okay. Next up is mending some torn pages. When you have one kind of like this one that is thinner on one side and it isn't necessarily like a straight up tear, this is kind of what you're going to do. Your materials that you will need: a mending stick, of course, some Norblond glue, you're going to need wax paper as well, and you might need a scissor. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a square, or, well, I suppose they're more rectangular, out of these pieces of the sheet of wax paper. And you just kind of want to make sure that it's a little bit wider than the book. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I start gluing is I'm going to put my wax paper down on the page following the tear so that I don't get glue on it right away. Make them stick to each other instead of the tear being fixed. Alright, I'll zoom in here a little bit for you. Okay. Alright, so just like we've done before, we're going to stick that mending stick at the top of the bottle and just kind of get some glue on there. You really don't need very much for this one at all. Alright, so I'm going to start by starting at the very inside of it, and again I'm just rolling it, and then I'm going to put the stick aside, and I find that if you just kind of dab it with your finger that you can make the words seem as though they haven't even been altered at all. Put down our other sheet of wax paper as a safety precaution, and we'll turn this one over. Oh yeah, see, you can see where the glue would have gone through. Alright, so then I'm just going to take my stick and just kind of dab what's left on there on top of it, and then put my finger over top of it again, just to kind of make it all nice and smooth. Can't forget to put that wax paper back in there, and we'll shut it. Alright, there are some other kinds of tears. If you have one that is both horizontal and diagonal, you kind of just want to do the diagonal part first before you fix the rest of it, and then stop and wait to do the other part of it, just in case that tear doesn't work right.